Hi there, folks. Paranormal Mom here. It's Whiskey and Weird, Season 2, Episode 10. Have we been here before? We're going to be talking past lives. I'm happy you're here, whether you're watching live tonight on Facebook or live on YouTube or watching the replay or listening on your favorite podcast app. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. If you ever want to just chime in on one of my social media pages, I'm on Facebook, of course, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to know about you. I'd love to know what you think of what I'm doing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful if you're showing up. So as I said, tonight we're going to be talking about past lives. And if you're watching me, I'm still getting so used to this new setup because my glasses, I've switched over from looking at my computer to looking at this. And I really hate not having anything real to look at. So it's really hard for me. I'm also playing around with this light. So if anyone's chiming in at any point, anyone's chiming in and can see that. I tried to test it to see if you could see too much in my glasses from this, but because it just kind of, anyway, the logistics of this shit is driving me nuts, to be perfectly honest. So anyway, here I am. It's Wednesday, I think, April 28th or something like that. And yeah, I'm going to try to stay focused on this thing. See if I can do that. I'm not sure if I can. I got Clarence, my mascot, here staring at me, but if I look at him, then I'm not really looking at you. God, why does this have to be so difficult? Anyway, thanks for being here. Tonight I am going to be trying some monkey shoulder. Some monkey shoulder. It's original. It's a blended malt Scotch whiskey. Here we go. It's right there. And it is let's see, batch 27. It's the original. So it is taken from some Speyside single malt scotches that are then married together for this one. The whole monkey shoulder name actually comes from when men used to actually turn the barley with shovels. That sometimes they would end up with this thing, with this kind of injured shoulder that hung down kind of like a monkey. And that's what they called it, monkey shoulder. Apparently it's not something that is diagnosed anymore, most likely because people don't tend to turn the barley with the shovels. But yeah, so they kind of honored the hard work of those men in the early years by naming it that. So I'm going to try this tonight. And I am going to, hopefully this is working. I'm just kind of surprised that there's nobody here yet, but I'm not sure I would ever know without getting on my phone and figuring that out. I'm going to smell this from the bottle. It's very pleasant. It's got a pleasant smell to it. Sweet. It's kind of warm. It's a warm smell. And let's see, it is maybe like cloves, oranges. Almost like, it smells a little bit like fall, if that makes sense. It smells a little like fall, at least from the bottle. Let's see what it smells like over here. Let's see here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to make sure this is all working because I know StreamYard was having issues a couple days ago. And it could just be that nobody's going to chime in tonight, and that's totally cool. Except that it's a little boring for me when there's nobody to talk to. Oh, there's somebody. That's good. Okay. Just checking, because if I wasn't actually live and showing up, I wouldn't know it. So if you're here, say hi. Let me know what you're drinking. I'm actually trying this monkey shoulder. You'll probably have to go back and listen later to hear about what it is, because I'm not going to repeat it because I don't feel like it. So there. Let's see. Yep, I'm getting a little bit of that fall smell. I don't know why. It's like I'm like picturing, like, you know, when you mold something and you put like the cloves, you stick the cloves into the oranges and throw it in. Hey, weirdo. Hi, Dean. Happy to have you. Thanks for chiming in. I'm trying some monkey shoulder tonight. I'm getting a little fall vibe off of this. So we're going to see what happens when I taste it. Here we go. That's nice. It's very warm. It's not too, there's a little bit of a burn, but it actually goes down pretty smoothly. It is, I definitely get that citrus. So there's like I said, there's a fall vibe to this. Let's see what it says on here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Spiced oak. That's why, right? Spicy hints, zesty orange. Well, there we go. I was totally picturing, as I said, I was picturing, like, you know, when you stick a bunch of cloves in the orange slices to mold cider or wine. That's what I was just envisioning as I smelt this. 92 proof. So we'll see what happens, right? While I'm drinking it. Dana, I'm glad you're here, because of course, you recommended this past lives. You talked about regression. So I hope you'll chime in and ask questions and share your thoughts on this subject. Before I get into this, though, I do want to share, everyone who listens later, and I'll share this again at the end. I'm probably going to take a week off next week and then gear up for another short season. And I think what I want to do is I want to do like 8 weeks of something I want to call Everyday Weirdos. And I want to invite people on to be with me on here and just chat. Like, what makes you weird? What we could talk about anything. Like, I don't know, I can come up with questions. And so if that's something that you think you would love to do, and you can taste whiskey with me or not, or we can taste something that you like to drink, that's cool. It doesn't have to be whiskey. But I'd love to get some people on here in May and June with me, just to kind of add a little something extra. So if that's something you're interested in, chime in. You can chime in the comments, or you can reach out to me directly, whatever. And I want to do that. I think it'll be fun. It'll probably end up being only 8 episodes, as that will bring us to the end of June. And come July, I'm not really sure where I'm going to be. So I just, so let me know. If you guys are listening, please say hi. Let me know what you're drinking, if you're drinking something tonight. I'm really excited because I have the weekend off. You know, those who know me know I have right now a variety of jobs, and it's great. I really love all of my little jobs, but what happens a lot is I don't ever get like full day off, and certainly not a whole weekend. So this weekend I just happened to not get scheduled for the jobs that I usually get scheduled for the weekend. So I'm really excited about that. So basically this is kind of like my Friday night. So we'll see what happens. Hey, Lisa. Sorry you can't stay. Let's catch up soon. Okay. So anyway, how's everybody doing? Has the super moon affected anyone? I feel like maybe it's affecting me, or maybe I just want to use that as an excuse for how all over the place I've felt the last couple of days. Like just really all over the place. I just have these moments of like weird emotional, emotional weirdness. And then, yesterday I was at the park with this little girl that I watch, and I totally slipped on a wood chip, and I hyperextended my left knee, like painfully, actually. And then I ended up falling because it hurt so much, and I lost my balance, falling on my right side of my body. So I have that to deal with, and it's kind of just pissing me off. I don't like to be hurting. It pisses me off. It makes me feel weak, which I know is stupid and irrational, but it does. Let's see. Dean has a weird trivia fact about himself. Are you auditioning to be on the show? Weird trivia fact about me. I know most every celebrity, famous person's zodiac sign. For real? See, you're on. You're coming on the show, Dean. Whether you wanted that to be your audition or not, it was. Hi, Tracy. Oh, Tracy, if you've been awake for 20 hours, I am like honored that you even stopped to say hi to me. You should probably go to sleep. But hi, love you. That's amazing. So you guys are great. So you guys, past lives and regression. Dean suggested this, and I thought it was a great idea. So I've actually never had a regression. I'd very much like to do it. More so just kind of for affirmation, or just to get to see if some of the thoughts that I've had. But I'll go back to when I was a kid. And I can remember, and I've mentioned on here a few times that I did some weird stuff as a kid that, you kind of just don't realize that it's maybe weird. But I can remember sitting in front of a mirror and basically scrying. I didn't realize that's what I was doing until, I was much older. But I would just stare and stare and stare into this mirror until, kind of focus went out. And I would always see this man. It was a man. Like my face would change, and I would see this man, and he had kind of like dark curly hair. I might have mentioned this before too. He had dark curly hair and a kind of a big, thick mustache. And even still today, it happens when I'm doing that. That's the first face that comes up for me. It's really bizarre. And so I've kind of had, once I started realizing that this was something that was happening and kind of a typical thing, I started to wonder if maybe it was like someone I was before, someone that I would have seen had I looked into a mirror, right? And interestingly, as I said, I've never done a regression, but just working with different Reiki mentors and psychics and things, I have kind of learned that I was most likely a man in my last life. And that makes sense to me because I actually do have a lot of male energy. We're all some of both. I mean, the whole idea is to try to balance the feminine and the masculine. And I'm working on that. But I do have like a lot of masculine energy, and that can be often because of who you were in the past life. But I did also, what's really crazy about that is I had a dream. It's been sometime in the last like 6 months where I saw this man. It was like just looking into his life, my life, maybe, I don't know. And I saw this man who kind of lived out in the middle of nowhere, like pioneer-ish, it was, undeveloped land. He had a small kind of rustic cabin place. He had a wife and he had a child. I believe it was a little boy, although I can't 100%. And I remember just seeing him packing up like a a wagon. He was going somewhere. Like he had to leave every once in a while and leave his wife and child to travel probably into the town or something like that. But it was really bizarre because I woke up thinking, oh my gosh, I think I just saw something that was part of a past life for me. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it was pretty remarkable. You guys chime in at any time if you have had experiences with this, especially if you've ever done a regression. I would really love to do that. So past lives, 100%, I believe that we have not just been here once. I think we've all been here before. And, I think that's how it's part of us getting to like fully ascending, like, just learning all the lessons we're meant to learn, that every time we come back, there's something different that we're meant to be learning. And probably sometimes we don't learn it. But other times we do, and we're able to take time and move into those. So I definitely believe that we don't just come here one time and then we go to heaven or hell or something. And sometimes, having been raised in the Catholic faith, sometimes I think about our lives essentially as being purgatory. Like we're just going to stay in this loop until we've really done everything that we're meant to do, that we set out to do. And I don't think that necessarily what we are doing is by order of anyone else. I think that we create our own soul contracts and we decide what we want to learn. And I think that eventually, there might be some collection of things that everybody's working for. But I don't think there's necessarily like a puppeteer per se. I think that we all kind of decide this together. I also believe that we travel with the same people, similar people. So you kind of have, there's lots of different ways people think about these things in terms of galactic families and, like people who are kind of in your soul system, basically. And sometimes they're going to be really important parts of your lives. And other times it might just be somebody you come across randomly that you don't ever really have a relationship with, but you feel something when you're near them and you don't really understand what that was all about. Chime in if you've ever had something like that happen. Yes, soul groups. There's lots of different ways that you can call these, right? But I think that you do meet up with the same people. I think in terms of things like soul mates, I think that we probably have more than one that kind of match that. Like maybe our soul, there's a group of us in the soul group that are that to each other. And any one of those particular souls can ignite, what we feel like is, what we've come to believe in our human experience as being like a soulmate. But it can be, there can be multiple people, multiple souls, I think, that fit that. But that's just my opinion. Again, let's see. Tracy says, since I was a teen, I always have visions of specific calico bustle style dresses and cooking on a potbelly stove, washing clothes on the washboard. That's awesome. There's probably something, New Mexico specific. That's really cool. There's probably something to that. Have you ever meditated on that? Like try to gather more information. That's what I would do, is try to find a little more information about that. Have you ever, like, here's another question. Have you ever been watching like a movie? I'm trying to think of one that's, has some specific historical setting, and you just have this overwhelming feeling of familiarity, like almost to the point of crying, like watching it and you get really emotional because something about it feels very familiar to you. That's happened a couple times to me. And I like, there's a couple different things. Like I do, like this idea of living during pioneer days has definitely always resonated with me. And apparently I was a man. But I think, anyway, we go back really, really, really far, I think, forever and ever. Now, I think when we're talking about this too, is we can talk about like, people who are coming back. Like, you ever watch those shows about little kids who essentially tell you, I used to be this person before, or I used to have, you're not, I have another mommy too, or I had another mommy, or you're not my first family, or, and there's a show where the guy actually, he's very skeptical, but he goes and he researches all of the things that these children are coming up with, and actually, tries to find out how accurate. And many of the ones that I watched, it was pretty crazy how spot on, how much information these kids knew that was right. And they would go back to their old house, some of them, and they would cry. These 4 and 5-year-olds would just kind of lose it, and, be sad about missing their old families. They would remember how they died, all sorts of things. So there's something happens, right? I don't think that that's just a coincidence. I don't think kids can make that stuff up, and they certainly couldn't be as accurate as they are. Curious, what do you guys think about that? Anybody seen those shows? What do you think about these kids showing up? And what do you think about why is it that some people remember? Like, and I think it is a choice they make, because there must be some lesson that can be learned from having to experience kind of being in both of those places. And, or maybe it goes into that whole multi-dimensional notion. Like, when we get into this conversation, we could consider the fact that maybe it's not past lives, it's simultaneous lives, right? Parts of our soul that are experiencing different timelines, different lifetimes, all at the same time, because that's what a lot of people believe happens. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking about that? Oh, hi, Sean. Sean says, let's see, my sister up until 8 would tell these in-depth stories about being an Indian princess. They were so specific, it was eerie. As she got older, she forgot this, and to this day does not even remember. So I think that is actually what tends to happen. That's pretty crazy. I don't know. That is really fascinating for sure. But I think that you do eventually forget. But I think we eventually forget a lot of things. And of course, that's where like past life regressions can come in, because you might be able to draw back on that. And how cool would it be to see if that anything that could be recalled even by others might be something that you would be able to tap back into. I think a lot of people would be really scared. It's kind of scary to think about doing that, because, what if you experience your death from a last life again? That wouldn't be very fun. Or, what if you learned something about yourself or about somebody else that you didn't really want to know? I don't know. It's kind of freaky, right? So Dean, this was your idea. Have you ever had a past life regression before? If you're still listening. I'm going to take a sip of my monkey shoulder whiskey here. It's a blended malt Scotch whiskey from Speyside. So it's a marriage of some Speyside single malts. Let's see. Dean says, I watched a show about a 6-year-old boy who believes he was on the Titanic. He knew all the decks and rooms of the ship with accuracy and detail. I actually think I saw that one. I saw that, or I saw one that was really similar. Yeah. How does that happen? Right? How would you explain that? And I don't know. I'm sure that scientists have a reason or a way for explaining that away. Skeptics, of course. But in my mind, I don't see how you could really explain that away. Here's another kind of twist on this is I was reading something the other day, and I feel like I might have brought this up in last week's episode, because a lot of the stuff really overlaps for me. But it was an article about the fact that stones, like stones that we wear and we carry for the energy that they support us with, that they actually, the energy in them is not unlike the energy that we are. And it was suggesting basically that that souls could be reincarnated as like stones or, all different things. And it was really a fascinating idea. And I started thinking about, I think we have mentioned this before. So, chime in if I repeat myself too much, but, I know most people don't listen to more than one of my episodes anyway. So, but like this idea of people who recall living on planets where everything is underwater, or they live on planets where they are trees. What if it's not really another planet? Maybe it's just Earth. And, we do know that like dolphins and whales, these really ancient sea creatures, are incredibly smart and incredibly gifted and incredibly aware. And that's basically how people describe it when you've actually existed in this ocean planet. But what if it's not? Maybe it all is here on Earth. And sometimes you come back as a whale. Today, I watched this little girl in the afternoons a few days a week, and she's an awesome kid. She just looks at the world in the coolest ways. And they have some ants. They have some like sugar ants, and they're dealing with in their house. And she just loves to sit and watch them, and watch what they do. Sometimes she kills them, but she's just so fascinated with them. So to try to just kind of pull her away from, laying on the floor with the ants in the kitchen, I started watching like videos with her of ant colonies and things. And she was really fascinated. But there was this one that we watched that was a time lapse, just showing how ants, of course, build tunnels in the sand. And there was like the part with the sand, and then there was like another part off to the side where they would come in and go, or where they would take the sand out right from the tunnels and pile it up. And at one point, a whole bunch of ants piled into kind of we'll call it the atrium area. And they were all lined up like military troops. And there was another time when because in the time lapse, you could really tell what they were doing, where they actually like were in a circle, as if they were standing around talking to each other. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And in that moment, I'm like, what if we could be reincarnated as ants? Like ants are really smart, right? Like ants, bees, all these kind of social insects and things like that. Insects is what this little girl and I have been talking about all week. So, what do you guys think about the idea that we might have lives as other beings, as other creatures in other forms other than just like human bodies, or even just some sort of alien body, but that we might come back, doing that. So let's see. Dean says he has had no regressions, but yeah, it'd be pretty cool. I think I have a serious delay in my comments tonight, you guys. So I apologize if I'm responding really lately to what you're talking about. But yeah, tell me, what do you think about that? What do you think is, do we come back all the time as humans, or is there a lesson to be learned? Or maybe being a cat with 9 lives who lies around a house and licks itself all day, maybe that is a break from a human existence, right? How about elephants? Elephants are remarkable creatures, very emotional creatures. I just saw a video yesterday where a person was being taken, like being washed away in a river, and an elephant jumped in the water and basically saved this human being. Like just a wild elephant. Was just the craziest thing. So there's definitely this level of awareness that exists in certain creatures. And one of the things we've talked about here on the live cast is there's this, belief system around the fact that we incarnate as humans because humans have the most vast emotional range. and it's just the challenge of kind of wading through that and making sense of all of it. And so maybe it is a break just to be an elephant or to be an ant that sole purpose really is to create tunnels and take care of the queen. Or I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But I definitely think that past lives are a thing. I think that, again, we meet up with each other. I don't know how many of you guys have heard of the Akashic Records, which is basically, it's like a library of sorts of everything that has ever happened, past, present, and future. It's a place that you can go, in meditation, astrally, you can go there. And I've done meditations in this, so you can use it. Like, everyone has kind of their own perspective on the Akashic Records. I mean, like, you go and you'll see it. Like, when I go there, I've done it in a meditation a couple of times. We head up, like, I go there in an elevator, and it's like it's a glass elevator, which is really funny because I'm kind of terrified of heights and glass elevators. But it's when I get up there, I actually get out, and it's like a medieval castle. It's really crazy. It's a medieval castle. And I basically walk over this moat, and there's this huge door that I see, and I knock on it. And then inside are these, like, beings. They are white. They're like light as for the most part. They're just like light. They're white. They're really, really tall. They look really similarly to the creatures that Obi-Wan goes out to that ocean planet. I can't think of what it's called right now. When he's trying to find out about when he learns about the clones that are being made. If anyone remembers, they kind of resemble that. And they kind of glide, and you go into this place, where in your mind, essentially in this meditative state, and you can ask to see your records, and you can be really specific and ask, show me who this person, show me the connection I have with this particular soul or with this soul. It was really interesting. When I went, I was meditating one time. I was able to actually see my husband at the time, and kind of saw where he's been before, which was really fascinating and really informative, and very emotional too. And then another time, I was really curious about someone who's been in my life before, that I was very drawn to, someone I knew in college, really drawn to, and have always really struggled with it. Like, didn't understand why, like, being around this person felt the way that it did. And so I asked to see those records. And so it was really, really fascinating. And as I'm seeing this, it's almost like, oh, yes, I remember now. Really crazy things. So those things exist out there. If you believe in it, I guess, if you want to give any attention to that, or even just explore it. Like, the thing for me is I had never done that until I did it. It was actually in my Reiki class, the first time. And I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And I was really just blown away by what I experienced. And I never even could have imagined what it really was. I didn't have any kind of any forethought about what that would have looked like, how it would have occurred. And to be honest, I didn't even know who I was going to ask about when I was there. It just kind of came from me. And so to me, that was really affirming, really kind of supported this idea that it could be something real. Camino, that's right. That's right, Sean. Thank you. You know who I'm talking about. That's what they look like, those aliens that are on that. Let's see what Dean has to say. What is your take about star seeds incarnating now from different star systems to uplift humanity and raise the frequency of the planet so we can ascend into 5D? I think we are starseeds, experience different lives for soul growth, whether it be in a meat suit. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. I think that we're all starseeds. I think everyone is. I think we actually all come, this is just what I believe. We all come very specifically from the same source at some point. And we are all star seeds. But what I think is that people who are incarnating now, and I'll tell you that as a person who's taught young children for almost, did for 30 years, almost 30 years, 25, 28, something like that. I started seeing these kids like show up, and I had experiences with them. I see them now. It's actually been a huge catalyst for me in my work as a coach, being a parent coach, and now being an integrative healing coach, is recognizing that these people exist and that they have been here for a while. And some of us are just starting to come out of it. Now, I think it's interesting because in some ways, I think it's almost like, oh, I'm blanking. You guys, what's it called when when the government trains these people and then they have like a cue, like something where they remember what their purpose was? Who answer this for me, you guys? I'm totally blanking on it. And so I think that for a lot of the souls, it's all about timing. And I think this period in time has always been where it was supposed to happen. And I think that there's a lot of young people coming up, and it's really important that we meet them and we listen to them. And because they are more star seeds in the essence that they most recently went back to that place and recharged essentially for the sake of a 5D ascension here on Earth, of humanity in general. And for all sorts of reasons. So, yeah, I think everyone's star seeds, but I think some of us have been separate from that a lot longer than others. And I think that's a lot of why we see, these different, you talk about indigo children or even autism and things like that. These are starseed kind of souls that have come here, and some of them may have not had the time that they needed and have a really hard time grounding in their bodies here, which is a lot of what that is. But yes, I 100% believe that we are in the space of a spiritual awakening. It's really funny because the religious types want to suggest that has something to do with religion and Armageddon and the second coming, and that's not what it is. That's just them trying to scare the shit out of everybody, because that's what they do. It's actually an amazing and beautiful thing. And we're all meant to support each other in it. So sleeper cells. Thank you, Sean. I think that, Sean, you're like my trivia guy. You're like, that's awesome. But I think that we have like sleeper cells of different groups of people who kind of come to this awareness at different times. And I feel really called to help people kind of, to own that and to kind of bring that out and, to heal from the human things. Cause that's what our human experience is about, is to be able to move through the trauma and do the healing work so that we really fulfill that potential, that ascension potential that we have. I really believe that. So, and we all have it in us to do so. And, it's interesting, even thinking about like when you have the musicians, like really famous musicians, really creative types that die really early. I think that there's purpose in them leaving this time so that they can come back again. I also think, even with COVID, and this is not a popular opinion, but I believe that just in general, when we die, we essentially that's a soul contract. We knew what we were doing. We knew when that was going to happen. And like I said, it's not a really popular opinion, but if you can really wrap your head around that, then it kind of makes dealing with death a little bit easier. Not to say that I wouldn't be horribly devastated, in particular to lose, members of my family and stuff, but I don't have a fear around it in the same way someone who doesn't doesn't really know what to think or can't trust any of it, right? Just kind of, it's just fascinating. Does that answer your question, Dean? I definitely think, you talk about being on Pleiades as a healer. There's plenty of us. I think I'm a healer. Well, I am. And my sister is one too. And many of us are here trying to do that work, supporting this transition from 3D through 4D. Most of us are in a 4D area right now where we no longer accept kind of the more, basically the religious version of things. And we're realizing that there's something bigger. 5D is essentially when we just own that, where we can live in the moment. We recognize who we are as light beings and the purpose that we serve with one another and in and of ourselves and of the divine source that we all come from. And so I'm talking about, past lives and why are we doing this? I've mentioned before that we all have shadow work. And I saw this, it might have been, I can't remember if it was Dolores Cannon or not, but there was a meme about, why do we look at shadows? Our shadows are not a bad version of us. They're the part of us that needs to be healed. And they're actually the part of us that we keep coming back to try to get to. And it requires a lot of digging deep and a lot of pain and a lot of struggle. And I think until we really start to connect with that, which was sparked at the moment of our separation from the divine source. So we're going to experience lives until we are able to acknowledge that part of ourselves and actually use it to benefit us. And that is essentially what ascension is, right? So we're going to keep coming back. And like I said, I think that maybe if we get to be whales or elephants or cats or even dogs, that would be a pretty great life too. That maybe that's just us taking a break from being humans and having to exist in this full emotional range that can be really, really trying all the time. So Dean says yes, but I have no idea what. I asked you if I answered your question. That's why you're saying yes. All right, that's awesome. But yeah, I think past lives. I think regression can be really important to do. I also think that one has to be emotionally ready. I think that it has to be just about experiencing it. If you're in a place when you're going in to answer questions about trauma or why things are hard, I'm not convinced that those are the right reasons to do past life regression. I think that past life regression, which should be one of the later things that you do once you've kind of come to terms with a lot of the other stuff, as I said, just for affirmation or to gather information that won't be alarming, but that will support you in the remainder of this life and possibly in the next, or in other dimensions, as some people will be believing that we are kind of experiencing all these things at one time. I wanted to touch on the idea of soul fragments and attachments and things, and why sometimes we might experience things also is because when I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this, but when you experience trauma or whatnot, there's this, this idea that you leave a piece of your soul in that moment. And that's kind of literally, it's not just a memory. It's not something that's there. It's when doing inner child work is about going back sometimes and gathering up fragments of your soul that were left in times of trauma. And you can share those things with other people as well. And sometimes I think, is that why when we see someone and we really connect with them, that we've had an exchange of some sort or whatever. And that might feel like a past life, or it might feel like another dimension. And maybe it is. Maybe we have fragments of our souls existing in other places at the same time. Lots of people believe that. I want to see. mean, I don't know that I would view being another species as a break. Maybe they view being human as a break because they see us as having the easy life. Maybe. I don't know. But I think the thing is, when you don't have any emotions, do you know what's easy and hard, or do you just do? Right? So I don't know. I don't know. Right? I don't know. But I feel like, most animals, like, they just exist. They don't have it, our feelings. It's our feelings that get in the way of our progress. They can also catalyze our progress, right? If we're working well with it, but also that's where fear comes from, and fear gets in the way of everything, and emotions. The ego uses our emotions against us. So I don't know. That's an interesting thought, though, right? I mean, and the thing is, who knows? We don't know. That's what's so fun about talking about stuff. Like, who knows? And I mean, it never occurred to me until today to consider the fact that maybe I could be an ant and just live in a colony, building tunnels for my life and taking care of the queen ant. I don't know. Or maybe I could be the queen ant. Who knows? But that doesn't really sound like a lovely existence either. So anyway, I think that's a really interesting thought. So anyway, Sean and Dean, thanks for participating in my conversation tonight. I appreciate it. I wanted to go back and say, you guys, that, and ask, let me know if you have any other questions or insights or whatever. I mentioned this at the very start, that I'm probably going to take a break next Wednesday and then basically start another season. And I want to kind of focus in on something I'm kind of thinking of calling Everyday Weirdos, and bringing people on to kind of share the live cast with me. So like Sean, you did that once with me, where we did holiday, cocktails, and that was really fun. And it's fun to talk to people. And so I want to bring people on. I want to get to know, your stories. You can ask me questions. We can just chat about whatever you think makes you weird, and how, what brought you to the show. We can taste whiskey together. We can actually not taste whiskey. We can do any of that. So let me know if you're listening in later, if you think that that's something you would like to do. I definitely have a few people in mind that I may have already even talked to about doing that. So I'd like to do that. Maybe just a quick 8-week session that would bring us, an 8-week season would bring us to the end of June. And come July, I'm not really sure where I'm going to be moving into July. So we'll probably have to take a little break during the summertime too. But yeah, I want to do that. I also thought it could be kind of fun, depending on if I fill all of those, to do like fun trivia, like do a trivia night, and gather some like questions from all the different episodes, and see, I just be really fun with people who are my regular listeners, live listeners, to kind of play this, and maybe have a prize of a bottle of whiskey for whoever wins that. So I don't know how people feel about that, but I think it could be kind of fun. But yeah, that's my plan moving forward. So I plan to take next week off. So don't look for me. Well, you can look for me, but you won't find me, not here anyway. And then we'll kick it off the following week. Hopefully I can find somebody who wants to join me. It's really easy to do. And like I said, just let me know. And I'd love to have you on. It's fun to talk to somebody rather than just talking at this camera. I'm thinking that I need to put a picture of somebody maybe behind it. Maybe like Jamie Fraser from Outlander or something. I don't know, Zac Efron. Ooh, there we go. Dean, you're going to have to tell me who the signs of some of these people. I can probably look it up myself, but I'm going to have a list of names when you come on of people I want you to tell me what their signs are. And is that just their sun sign, or is it their star sign, their moon sign? Is it all of the above? Yeah. And Sean was on with me. He said it's really easy to get on here. It's so easy. I just send you a little invite link and basically you click it. So anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. thanks for watching the replay or listening later. I appreciate all of you. I'd really love to know what you think, and also if you have your own ideas about cool topics, because I don't think we'll ever run out of weird things to talk about, right? And we can even get really specific into some of the weird things that happen just every day in the news, because there's a whole lot of weird in the world, right? So anyway, you guys, I'm going to sign off, I think, unless anyone has a question. Dean says sun signs mostly. I will definitely enjoy the week off, and I'll keep up my weirdness. That will never go away, whether people like it or not. It's always here. You guys too. Stay weird for real. Yeah, I think guest weirdos will be really fun, right? And just like everyday weirdos, right? Because I think we all need to be celebrated, and we need to celebrate each other. So, Dee and Sean, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Until then, stay healthy. And I'll talk to you soon. Love ya.